So do you think it's really changed your life?
Yes. It's made me a bit of a better person.
So then in the line-out you want me...
I want you opposite whoever goes to the front of... Whoever goes... If Stevie goes to the front of the line-out,
yeah,
you go to the front of the line-out.
Man on man.
We're going to play man on man today.
Right.
And hit him really hard in that first chucker, especially Stevie.
Yeah.
Really knock the wind out of him.
Right.
Well, everybody in southeast Queensland, especially the Gold Coast, knows who John Fitzgerald is. He's one of the most successful property developers. He's one of the most competitive sportsmen, especially polo, which is his passion. He's one of the most competitive guys that I've ever met.
Johnny Fitzgerald, he's attacking the ball. Fitzgerald takes his man out of the play.
When I first started in the 80s,
Help him, Wayne, help him!
it was a time of very fast business, and to be a part of it, you'd see things occurring very, very quickly.
Fitzy needs the money. He's really putting out a big effort.
The motivation for that was often to promote yourself above others, and it was almost like a strict competition. The boys in business would call it a pissing contest, and I took a part in it.
Look at Johnny Fitz come. Johnny Fitz coming down hard. He leans into Damien. That's what you're allowed to do. You can push the guy, but you must keep your elbow beside your body.
Fitzy wouldn't do anything illegal.
No, he'd never use the elbow or anything like that.
No.
You know, I would have in the mid-80s manipulated others, sold properties that, you know, that we hadn't owned at the time for tremendous profits to people who'd on sell them again.
Did you see any of the game?
I did, well done.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I don't know that I regret anything in terms of behaviour, except that I was sucked into that vortex of greed.
Thanks, Dave.
Did well.
One evening, about 9 years ago, we were just sitting quietly chatting to each other and the phone rang. I answered it. And this voice sounded young, like a young voice, said, you don't know me, but I've got a fair bit of money and I want to help street kids and I don't know where to start. And I've been told that you two people would be the best to help me in this endeavour. What struck us about him was that as we talked, we realised that he was a man who knew how to make money.
All right, kiddies.
But he also had this sense of responsibility to the community. And in fact, he didn't regard this skill of making money as his own. He said it's been given to him. It was like sitting with a young man of great wisdom. It had a profound effect on us. So much so that Swanee decided to give up her well-paying job and to jump into the unknown. We'd only just met him.
8 years ago, Ron and Swanee and I established a residential home for youth at risk in Brisbane. We realised that one of the shortcomings of the home was in not providing an educational facility for the kids. So just this year, we've started a school for non-mainstream students on one of my property developments between Brisbane and the Gold Coast.
All right, everybody. This week's theme is peace. So during this quiet time, I'd like everybody to think about something that you think peacefulness is important for. Okay, so if you'd like to all sit up straight. Thanks. We'll start quiet time now.
But perhaps I understood that that was a process, or that was an event that was going to happen in my life, and it's caused me to have that remoteness.
I think the death of his father has actually affected him more than even he realised. And then when he was sent off to boarding school, it was terrible. I mean, he was 10.
You know, I probably cried for the first 3 months I was at boarding school. But I did understand that this was necessary for Mum to cope, and it was just a sacrifice that I had to make to put my mother and my 2 sisters and their upbringing in front of my own selfish needs. Being sent to Christian Brothers boarding school in the 70s, that is a real test of survival, because my dormitory master, who in 1974 was put in charge of me for the 2 years, he's now in jail for sexually molesting boys in our year. And I think to myself, you know, how lucky I was that I had 2 older brothers at the school. I suppose I have got mixed feelings about coming back to St. Pat's, but I'd have to say over the 5 or 6 years that I spent there, it was a great grounding about so many principles of ethics and resilience, discipline, self-discipline. And in that regard, I'm quite looking forward to seeing the old Christian Brothers again. I just accept that they're men of faith, and they were just blinded by their own faith. Brother Breach, you should only remember good things about me, I'm sure, Brother Breach. all that cursing, that was all done to make me a better person, I'm sure.
He came back a changed person. He didn't want to go into another institution like university. I think he probably regrets that in some ways, in that he'd probably like to have gone and had the experience, but he's doing better than all of us who trotted off to uni.
For me, it was just a simple decision that I was going to take a year off and take a pack, and where I ended up was where I was going to stay. I just told Mum on the weekend that Monday morning I'm off. I'm not sure exactly when I'll be back. I remember coming over the range, you know, a truckie picked me up, and I came over the range and saw the coastline of southern Queensland. And I knew that this was my future. I knew then I'd never go back to Melbourne.
I was very impressed with the young fellow. I thought to myself, whoa, I'm just putting on salesman, and perhaps I'll give him a try. I didn't know he was 17 at the time, because legally I couldn't employ him when he was 17. He became very, very entrepreneurial. He started looking and bringing people together very, very early in the piece. And I thought to myself, this guy is 17 now, he's going to be a millionaire by the time he's 25. He was a millionaire, but he was 25.
When I met John, he was 22, so he was very young, and as soon as I met him, I knew there was something different about him. He wanted to make a difference, and that was something that he was working on slowly but surely.
Good morning, JLF Group. Sophie speaking.
I suppose you'd say a catalyst for establishing Toogoolawah was that churning inside of me that started when I was a teenager to continually ask for that sense of purpose.
Hurry up!
I had to ask myself why I was where I was at 28 years old and successful as a business person, and what the future was for me. How do you do? I'm John Fitzgerald.
Oh, okay, Max.
Glad to meet you. Have a seat. Every second Friday, the kids come to my office and we have an effective communication class on how to get a job. It's a pretty difficult job because it requires long hours. Can you commit to making the long hours?
Yes, I'm always up.
Our place of work is in Woodridge, so how would you travel? The first time we did the class, I said, all right then, let's talk about girls. You know, if you were to go up to a girl at the shopping centre and say, what would be your opening line that's a dead set knockout that you know they're going to be interested in? And the boys popped out and said, how about a root? And the girls were a bit flabbergasted. Everyone thought it was funny. But that's genuinely how they approach things.
You? Yep, come. He doesn't want to go because you're in the way. This morning after our sessions with the guys in the office, we generally have a horse ride. This will be their first time that they're going to actually get a ball and use the sticks.
Well, that's for the girls' side.
These kids have come a long way because quite a few months ago they wouldn't even go near a horse, and now you'll see they're trotting around.
Have no fear, I am here.
Head down high on the ball.
There's not a lot that John shares with Swanee and I. We lead very different lifestyles.
Well done.
We went down to the polo one afternoon and, you know, wanted to leave after about half an hour. It's just not our thing. I can't see us ever going to a ball. But that doesn't detract from how we feel about John. We have profound respect for him because to us he's a fellow seeker. We love sharing this journey with him.
3 or 4 years ago, we endeavoured to use a social event, being a polo ball and a polo tournament, to really show people about Toogoolawah and show people that my business as a business is involved in this charity. And what it's done is initiated friends and business associates to ask questions: why I would do it, what does it involve, is there a risk to me to do it, you know, what do other people think? And I see the front line of their cynicism.
When I first heard about the charity and John, I thought, well, sure, this is a case of he's a young successful guy, he's keeping 2/3 for himself, he's using it for tax dodge, he's got some angle, but that's not true. It all goes to Toogoolawah, and we don't mind getting behind John on that one.
I'm exposed to young people, 14, 15 years old, who literally have nobody in their lives that love them. And that's frightening. I think, you know, everyone in the audience would say to themselves, look, yeah, that is frightening.
He does have a lot of different sides to him. Through his discipline, with all the things that he achieves, his business successes, whatever, he's a bloke. He's a fair dinkum Aussie guy.
JLF, the initials he'll keep. But he's always been the turd from up the street.
The Turd Man is a unique, I mean, this is one of Australia's greatest sporting weekends. I hope you know, the Turd Man Classic. Basically, we used to call each other, you know, how you going, Turd? You know, the turd was the worst thing you could possibly call someone.
The Turd Man Classic scoreboard. 'Cause he's the Turd Man.
The weekend originated from our competitiveness, and now we have probably about 12 or 14 guys that meet every Australia Day weekend, and it starts off with shots of tequila and gradually, as you could well imagine, goes downhill in a big time.
I suppose you'd look at a summary of my life and say, oh, this guy's a walking contradiction. You know, on the one hand, he's meditating, and then he's boozing with his mates, and then he's having this major event called the Turd Man. I'd call myself probably a typical Aussie guy, not a sensitive New Age guy. In one regard, I might be, you know, slightly homophobic, given that I thought that every homosexual guy in my teens was a pedophile or pederast. And I probably am a little bit chauvinistic, although mellowing. I can't say that I'm a single-dimensional person, like Ron and Swanee Farmer, in some respects, committed to their spirituality. I want to experience everything of life.
Well, we're driving along the eastern side of Fraser Island, or eastern beach along Fraser Island up to Lake Wabi. We'll be joining the other kids from Toogoolawah tonight for their end-of-term hike.
When I first established Toogoolawah, I established it as a financial thing.
Everyone's in one piece.
But to be quite honest, I was comfortable for Ron and Sue Farmer to really run the program, and for me just to provide the funds.
Who's sleeping there? Who's sleeping there?
Me, Michael, us four.
Looking for a place to sleep. I don't want to sleep too close to the boys, otherwise they'll keep me up all night, and that's the last thing I want. But if I sleep too far away, I'll be dingo feed.
I had no real burning desire to actually work with the kids myself. I realise now that that was a futile thought, and the more and more I started working with the kids myself, the more intoxicating it almost became.
I think John's very passionate about Toogoolawah because I think that he feels that he could have went the way himself of those kids. And I think that, he hasn't told me, but I think that there could have been a couple of things in his life that happened at a very young age, a long time ago, that he could have been one of these kids.
The success of the Toogoolawah program could easily be measured in the fact that I can now talk to these kids and ask them where they see themselves in 5 years, and they'll answer me that they actually do see a future for themselves in 5 years. That's an achievement.
He could probably stand there and say, I've done it all myself, although I would very much doubt if he would do that because he's a generous person and would recognise other people's input and help. But I think that this sort of happened when he was 8. I think that it was almost destiny that he is doing what he is doing now because of what happened a very long time ago.